I've watched every UConn game for the last 3 or 4 years doing this, right? And
Really?
yeah, I have. Believe it or
You
not,
have?
it
Oh,
might be
okay.
shocking to
I
some
had
of
no
you guys,
idea.
but
I had no idea.
I've seen a lot of schemes that teams have thrown at UConn to try to blow up what they run offensively. And this was the first time I've seen someone do what St. John's did tonight, which is where the only screens or interchanges that they switched were the end of the action. So like UConn runs all of their stuff, and then as soon as solo ball's running off of the pin down, off of a big guy, that's when Zuby Ejiofor jumps out and blows up the screen. As soon as they get to the dribble handoff where they're trying to get the shot out of the action, that's where they switch and blow up that dribble handoff or that ball screen. And that takes a defense that really understands the scouting report, that understands what the other teams are doing, and that is locked in and connected, because it's very easy to get discombobulated on that. And the other thing that they were doing is the weak side defender was standing under the basket. So they were basically tagging to take away all of those slips. UConn got it twice. One time it was a Terrace Reed dunk, and the other time there was a foul.
Yep.
But they basically took away the ability of UConn to make those slips and just kind of dared them to say, look, we're going to have a 6'7" dude pressuring the hell out of you coming off of this ball screen. Go ahead and try to throw that ball to the opposite side corner. I dare you to try to make that pass. You're not making that pass. It's not going to work. And I don't know if this is something that is replicable, Matt. Like that, I think that with it's this scheme, it's the bodies that they have, and it's the coach that they have that can come up with something like that. Tell me, is that I don't know that I've ever seen a scheme like that specifically before.
Well, it goes back to what I was saying, right? Like we spend so much time as coaches like worrying about how we're guarding things. Like, okay, what are our principles on dribble handoffs? Oh, well, we want to slide through. All right, what are our principles on side pick and rolls? Okay, now we're playing against a shooting 5-man. So what are we going to do? Are we going to switch? Are we going to fully rotate? Like, how are we guarding these things? We spend so much time, and there's just the lost art of just guarding the ball and being physical on the ball. And Doster, you just said it. They didn't switch. And even dribble handoffs, guards are fighting through and keeping their it's like man on man. Like, this is like all these coaches you hear, this is a street fight, this is a rock fight, this is one-on-one. Like, no, that's what this was. This is a street fight, this is a rock fight. And when you look at how St. John's guards just guarded the ball, that was the thing that stood out the most in this game. Late clock, something breaks down and you have to switch. They didn't switch because, hey, we're switching 1 through 4. That's what we're doing because we're trying to take all these threes away. No, you better guard the ball. I'm going to hold you accountable to guarding the ball. And if you're not going to guard the ball, if you're not going to blow these actions up, guess what? Someone else will. That's what Coach Patino does. That's what he does. They're not just going out here, okay, we're switching 1 through 4. We're going to switch dribble handoffs. We're going to switch any back screen 1 through 4. We're going to switch any pick and rolls 1 through 4. No, guard the ball. Switch out of necessity. Don't switch because this is what we do.
I just want to give a quick shout out to Patino because it feels like he is enjoying this run more than he has in the past. He was asked in his presser tonight after the game by our friend from the New York Post, Zach Braziller. The question was, if I had told you in November you'd be 21-3 right now, what would you have said? And Patino's answer was, quote, I would have said, how the F did we lose that one Baylor game? Which is just the quintessential Rick Pitino answer right there. I want to pivot this a little bit towards the UConn angle because there's some things that I do want to talk about. McNeely coming back didn't look like he was 100%, but kind of figured it out a little bit in the second half. Looks like he got up to speed. Sandiar very clearly not 100%. He's battling through a knee thing, and he looks like he's moving about 60% of what he should be. But the biggest thing to me, Tyler, you kind of touched on this a little bit. Alex Karaban is a shell of who he was at the start of the season, a shell of who we expected him to be. And to me, it looks like a situation where he's completely lost any and all confidence. So Tyler, from the player's perspective, and McCall, when he's done, I want your take on this too as a coach. Like, what do you do when you've lost the belief in your ability? Like, this guy is an NBA caliber basketball player, right? And when you lose the ability to believe that, like, you're like, how do you fix that? How do you solve? I feel like everything right now is just in between his ears. It's like, dude, I want to play him all of the highlights of every made shot that he's made in his entire career. Just force him to sit down and watch it and be like, dude, you're good. This is what you can do. Go out there and do it.
Yeah, and sometimes as players we put too much pressure on ourselves to make home run plays, or you have a bad game, you're trying to make up for everything in a short amount of time. I kind of watched it, and I found myself kind of feeling bad for him because it feels like he's just putting so much pressure on himself out there, and he's overthinking. Sometimes you've got to lose yourself in the game. And what I mean by that is you've got to find ways to impact the game besides scoring. I feel like he's putting too much emphasis on his shooting, and he is a heck of a shooter. When he's knocking down shots from the outside and he's getting it going and he's hunting shots, putting himself in position to score, UConn is a totally different team. I didn't see that from him tonight. I saw him pass up some open looks. He needs to shoot it regardless. And, when I'm going through little droughts like this, or, I'm not playing well, sometimes I'll go back and I'll pull up some games where I really played well, kind of like a highlight tape, just so I can look and reassure myself, get my confidence up, know what I'm doing when I'm playing well. What am I doing different now? How am I hunting my shots? How am I putting myself in position to score? And also, I always say, when your shots aren't falling, try to get easy buckets. Try to get layups, get outrun, or try to get to the free throw line. Once you get some easy buckets going, you see the ball go in the basket, then things start to open up for you. The basket gets much bigger. And there's another saying I used to tell myself: scared money don't make money. When you go out there, play with confidence, regardless of whether it goes in or out, shoot it with confidence and shoot your shot and play your game.
Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Tyler on that. I think from a coaching standpoint, look, this guy's part of 2 national championships, a huge part of it. And I think sometimes in sports, expectations are the hardest things to deal with. So coming back on this season with everything that they lost last season, it's on him, right? And everyone's just expecting him to go out there and be this NBA player and be this lottery pick. And, Coach Hurley's had his back, and rightfully so. There's no question about it. When you look at the points per game this year, he's averaging more points per game this year than he ever has in his entire career. But his shooting percentage from the three-point line is down. But his head coach has his back. And to Tyler's point, it's one of those things where just, hey, man, go back and look at who you were the last couple of years when the shots were falling, when they were going down. But this season was going to be harder for him. It was, because of what they lost. You're talking about a team that's coming off back-to-back national championships, and he was a huge piece of that. But they lost NBA players, like lottery picks, guys that are having impacts in NBA games. So it was going to be more difficult for him. He's just got to go out there and be who he is. This team has to continue to get healthy, and they're going to be fine. I mean, none of us would be surprised if this is a second weekend NCAA tournament team. None of us would be. And he's going to be a huge part of that. But this season was going to be harder for him because of everything that they lost. It was. Because now, guess what? He's the number 1 guy on the scouting report. Oh, Liam McNeely's out? Like, here we go. Like, now he's even more number 1 on the scouting report. I get Ball. Ball's terrific. He's outstanding. But he's the guy. He is the guy that teams are going to key in on and make life difficult for it. We have to take this guy out of the game. So those open threes that have been there the last couple of years for him, they're not there anymore because teams are taking up the airspace to take him out of the game.
Yep, I think to your point, the hardest thing that he's had to deal with is McNeely not being there, because what Alex is at his best is the finisher of these actions, right? Where you get McNeely coming down off of a DHO, you got the 2-on-1, and if there's help, boom, he sprays it out, and Alex bangs that 3 in the corner, or he runs off the screen and bangs a 3, right? When you're asking him to be the guy that kind of has to get into the lane and make something happen, you're asking him to do something that he's not suited to as the number 1 player on the scouting report. And it's just, it's tough. And I think that not having McNeely there, he started struggling a little bit, and now it's just gotten to his head, and it's snowballed, and it's built up to the point that he's now 1 for his last 15 from 3 as a guy that is an NBA 3-point shooter. We got to move on because